Got it. Thanks, Shocky. Okay, welcome everyone to more poetry, open mic. Bear with me with technical difficulties because as I explained before we went live, my internet is out, and working on a cell phone really stinks, as most of you probably know. So if I run into any complications, I do apologize beforehand. Okay, let's see. So we have, let's see, add, um, just double checking my notes here before we begin. Um, okay, so I think what we agreed is we do the features and then the open mic. So, okay, I guess I have to add more people. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay. Again, I do apologize about this. Let's see. Let's see. Uh, yeah, I knew this wasn't going to work out. Let me see. Like I said, just bear with me. I do apologize. Shocky, are you still there?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to take over because my phone's acting weird and I just can't mind. And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And I don't want to say fuck it all in front of, and I just did over Zoom, over Facebook. uh,
That's okay.
uh, um,
Do
let
you
me,
want to send me bios and stuff that you have?
I don't really, I don't really do bios. I just introduce.
Okay.
Uh, like I'm trying to work this out with my phone, and it's not really that working out for me right now.
Okay.
Like every time I try to move something, something else moves. So,
Okay.
let's see if I can.
All right. So without further ado, we won't keep everybody waiting then. We will get our features started. From what I heard, it sounded like we were going to go with Scott first, then Lauren.
It's Scott, Lillian, and Lauren.
Yeah. Okay. Lillian and then Lauren. Okay.
Yeah, each one gets 15 minutes because it's split. Normally, with one feature, I do 30, 45, but because it's free, they each get 15.
Okay. Sounds good. So let's start off with Scott. Um, and do your thing, guys.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm one of the three of the Glossers, the Midnight Glossolalia crew. And I brought this project to them as they were all already my friends on Facebook and I love their work. So I said, let's do this thing. So we each wrote a poem and then responded to each other's poems. And there's three of us. So we did that a total of 7 times for a grand total of 63 poems, and that's the book. So I'll dive in and start reading a little bit, and you'll get the gist of what we're doing here. And thank you for Meat for Tea. You guys are awesome for publishing it, and we wouldn't want anybody else to be publishing it, so we're pleased as punch. So here we go. It doesn't take long to be sinking again, with the objects as chloroform biscuits and the sweat of August pooling in the black fruit along the vines. I thought I had described the way layers of sound and space and time peel off, and each incarnation carries a little bit less flesh, more long-nozzled and soporific. I thought I had described the way the realities can be peeled off, and the glue between sound and space and time, ribbons like rainbow soap. So when I get to the last layer without matter, without hearts clicking seconds, without places to judge against echoes, there is just a light which bends and blends into the sky like a cotton womb. I thought you had understood it, but you hadn't, because when the buildings are ghosts, you can still talk, and all I do is weep because God is a cruel child. Here's another one, kind of more of a prose poem, these two. This is a true story. I work as a nurse at the Seattle VA. Sleep in the mountains of honey and smoke. As I fall asleep, I think of the man who accidentally rolled over onto his baby in his bed and smothered the small breath. He told me his story after he had electroconvulsive therapy. After the seizures, he was at peace, and his wife would bring his new baby when welcoming him. I think, how does one come back from that dark smoked confinement with two working hands? The new baby would not replace the sweetness of the milk breath, the living babe, calm and breathing, moments before the larger sleep slid over the honeyed moon. The wife can forgive, but can one forgive the unconscious body, how it rolls without eyes, like a shakeless convulsion? I don't know, and now I can't sleep. Some places are too displaced, a bone fractured and never set back, a name which can never be unlearned. All right, this is a longer one. It has 7 parts. It's in response to Lauren's fantastic, oh my God, I don't remember what it was called, but 7 parts, and each part is a gigantic poem and that's majestic in itself. So I even, did a poem in 7 parts. It's called 7 Questions. Number 1, who talks next? Earthworms, seagulls, moles, motorcycles, memories, vacuums, automatic heart valves, ghosts pretending to be cats. 2, how do I speak to God? I'm going through a hard time and the street preacher finds me, says, this saved me, pointing to the book. And I used to drink. I had cancer in my throat and my liver, and this brother pulled me out, he says. You are going to make it through some darkness, and he shudders at what he sees. And I think, how can it get any darker? Brother, let me pray with you. And he grasps my hands and begins, Lord, Lord, please help us through the night. Please, when his vowels overstep his continents and the whole sentences slip into an ancient tongue stream, slick down a wet blue flame up through his crown like a slack snake snapped tight, and his eyes roll up into his skull, and his hands tremble with each flood deconstructing and sluicing back into the motor words until he re-entered his body, light sick, a host doused in leth, and he says, thank you, Lord, and he grips my hands like he has given it all to me. And I say, thank you, and try to find a way to walk back into the shadows. 3, how do I know when the ocean doesn't want me? It can't talk, it just shifts and takes away the light. The light is on the face of the waves that are too far out. The fear is too much, and I can't see the bottom. The sky becomes another sea, lightless and fierce, and my small body floats inside a body of seawater, and my watch says, go back, and the moon pulls and is silent. How could I tell they are fireworks and not gunshots? Oh, sorry. 4, how can I tell they are fireworks and not gunshots? This is around the 4th of July. I can't, but I think if they were gunshots, there would be screaming. There would be screaming afterward. There would be sirens. So I wait to hear screams or sirens. And if I don't, they were fireworks. And that is how I wait for the end. 5, how do you know it isn't a baby? The mole we find in the grass without blood but limp and neck unstraight. We think our cat dug it up. My wife says, I think it is a baby. And she darkens and sinks into an airless ship. I see the creature pick it up with a paper towel and set it into the compost bin. And I Google it, and it is a shrew mole, only 5 inches, a tiny platypus with nightmare fingers and a flesh snout. It is not a baby, I tell my wife. I knock on the buoy she is hooked to. It is not a baby. It is a shrew mole. It is an adult. It is not a baby. It is now sinking in an airless ship. 6, how do I know she is pregnant? This is college, and she says, I think something is wrong. I ask her again. Yes, she says. I crawl into a movie script. The lights crack. I say, we can't do this. We can't. And she is crying. And I say, we can't. I hold her with fake arms. She is falling down. I am still saying, we can't. When we get to the clinic, she says they need 2 days to take it out. And someone in the clinic says, how cute. And why would they say that? And it destroys the land and poisons the water. And I don't know how to save anything. For years, it keeps being pulled out, and we aren't together. There are no more words. 7. How do I know I am alive? Because the tide sweeps out my knees. Because my son growls and crawls like a badger when asked to be a dinosaur, because the laundry needs folding. If I were dead, I wouldn't have clothes. I wouldn't have hunger or thirst. I wouldn't need faith. Because my love is just barely stronger than my ache. Because this body is wet with salt and red with fire. Because I don't see my flesh below me as I lift, body sinking, and the worms haven't started to strip off my clothes or my face. Because I can hold my love and my children with oily fingers. 5, and folding a fist the size of a heart. Oh, that one. Some of these are hard to read. Okay. Alabaster. I used to dig in my backyard until I hit clay, and I couldn't dig with my fingers any deeper. There could be skeletons of mastodons or whales down there. I let the red-bodied spiders crawl on my hands before I learned to be afraid. I always felt someone had died there, where the rubber tree rooted through floodplain silt, and the bougainvillea thorn the afternoon sun slant with paper eyelids. One day I found an arrowhead of pale flint while digging near the weeping fig. It had a music to each flake burrowed along its teeth. It felt like it had been placed there by a pale hand for me to find, because it was just there yesterday, and I would have seen it lustrous as a breastbone, with a hidden pulse in the swirls of song. I brought it inside, placed it next to my bed, but the next morning it was gone, pulled back underground to where the Shumash slept in their tomo boats, to where either time or sickness had slept them under the clay, under layers of lost history, wet in the throat, to where a boy had shared a fragment of his lost name until the god of floods and rolling time returned it to its quiet flashing, now only a gull call, a plaintive gale, over the homelands, over the coastal range. Maybe one more ish.
As far as time, you still have 4 minutes. So
Okay, awesome. 4 dreams and a false widow. 1. In the dream, my father keeps telling me to wrap the wounds in clean sheets. My hands are gone and I have no blood. My son, who is now a centaur, gallops around the dirt floor. My wife builds a boat out of wood and ashes. My daughter is painting the sky with the blue exudate coming from my stumps. I know my hands are somewhere, maybe under a pillow, under a curse. 2. In the dream, we open up a door and there is heaven falling out beneath us like a snowstorm. Us tipping on the edge of the doorway, gripping each other to stay alive. Behind us, the smell of bread and childbirth. 3. In the dream, the earthquake moves the bed in circles. My lovers and I fall into the water. Then they are gone. There are eels and drums and lightning through the floor, and the house breaches and sinks like a wet book. 4. In the dream, Sasquatch sings to me as I lay unconscious in a cave. In the morning, they will feed me roots and raw deer and bring me further into the forest, where the rivers become eyes, and the stars are as bright as my lost language. 5. My daughter has been waking with spider bites on her legs. I hear my wife yelp. She kills a spider under my daughter's pillow. Black, but not a black widow. Then I find another large brown spider on her floor and smash it. We take apart her bed, look into the quiet places, search out white bundles of eggs. Be careful of our hands as they reach into the dark. All right. I have to read the penis poem, you know. Come on. We're gonna lighten the mood a little bit. All right. Daydream. I wake up one morning with my mental cereal in the fridge and my milk in the cupboard. My penis holds up my glasses. My eyes gauze in prayer. I have already begun to slip worms in mouths and tongues on hooks. The arrhythmias have foretold it all along. If I flip it along the Purkinje fibers, the heart becomes an insular sun. Don't forget to clean up the semen on the catastrophes. I haven't even come yet, and I'm already asleep. So the changes have begun, crow claw on vinyl, and Thelonious twinkles through the tinkle. I don't reason this is a slack-kneed prophecy, that this is a foreskin lantern of lost gods. I can't shake the rubber tongue, can't breathe without cost, can't dance without rubbing some nipple, can't wash this electric fence with holy hoses. And yes, when I wake, I am a lobster in an egret suit with a case of dildos and a Jesus bicycle. I can't ride either, so this must be another broken river, regurgitating milk-bloated sirens, all their eyes coins. All right, I really can't beat that one, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect because there's only a minute left.
All right. Thanks for listening.
I love the one that you mentioned, the platypus, because I'm actually really into platypuses.
Nice.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can end that. So let's see if I can. So let's see if I can get to. Bear with me as I go through my phone here. And I'm probably going to butcher your last name. I know Lauren told me. Lillian
Nechikov.
Nikakov?
Nechikov.
Nechikov. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to butcher it.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, not to worry. Not to worry.
Okay, so you have 15 minutes. So
Excellent. Thank you so much. So thank you to Meet for Tea Press, to Elizabeth and Mark for putting out this wonderful book. And thank you to my co-conspirators, Lauren and Scott. It was an incredible pleasure to work with you guys. And I'm so excited about this book. Anyway, so I think I'll start with my response to Lauren's 7-part poem as well, which was totally amazing, right? Her poem, and Scott's is amazing too. This one's called The Forever Restlessness. Remember when we thought the sun's gladness was king, and we spent hours cutting water with the back of a cardinal's song? How we followed no one through wild sage and thistle, our marrow still a gift, nestled quiet and fawn-like in the wee boulevards of ourselves. And the wind lay its head at our feet like a giant spirit bear to receive us in his tribe of kindness. Remember then how soon the culling season came, how quickly the blood scattered us into the hills, and the crows stole our lips and hung our kisses from the gallows. 2. How we threw ourselves open-mouthed into poison oak, the desire to be forgiven. How we hurled and heaved our laughter against time, penance. How a tiny orange beast forged itself between our ribs, uncoupling us from the pines and rivers and sky, the illusion of separation. 3. The coyote nestling under the hawthorn tree is a saffron sun, unsure which night to sashay into. Morning breeze chaperoning the cattails, too beautiful and afraid to dance over a broken bone. The forever restlessness of cicadas, resonance chambers jaded, heartsick, chattering through the perfumed topaz. 4. If I stretch my skin with a cypress, I exist. The tree is my sister lover, malachite moss mother, heartwheel, I alone. If I alone, mouth ox, sternum pond, swim love, swim, swim into the gentle temple of your breath forest. 5. The turquoise horse neighs at the peregrine supermoon. Come, he says, twist and twirl your way into the hawk's eye. There you will see all your faces. Facts we found in the Farmer's Almanac, the opposite of apogee, the point at which it is nearest Earth, a moon illusion. The vanishing tides, when to plant basil, broccoli, and cabbage, how to kiss under a full sturgeon moon, and where to look for saints once the frost comes. 6. We dreamed the alphabet as a field of tiny amethyst penises, the how and why of ornamental castles scaffolding the crown, a vowel through a veil of blue-black water, something about damselfly, compassion, azure speaking in tongue language. 7. Remember how easy it was starting at the beginning, before the arrogance of the end, before these bridges, seance purple, mulberry blush, orchid, kingfisher daisy, needed crossing, when we could lose ourselves in the chaos of Maltese cross and castor bean, while our voices still broke and cracked with lightning, and our breath remained grafted to the wind. This one is called Face Like a Shovel. And it's actually a true story. This guy that I went to high school with, probably about 10, 15 years ago, ended up, he had a lot of mental health issues. And anyways, he ended up killing his own son because he thought that he had to save him. And yeah, so anyway, so this is based on a true story. Face Like a Shovel. When a father kills his own son, it's called filicide. I call it a ballistic missile, Agent Orange, defoliation, end of blood. A mouth eating its own mouth, a fire escape made of razor blades, a mother lodged in a dead boy's throat. When a father kills, it's that guy we went to high school with, the guy with a face like a shovel, and his twin brother with a twin shovel for a face, and we never could tell them apart. That guy who finally hangs up his jockstrap after 50 years, the meat of him loosening, head like a faucet leaking spoiled water. That guy in the hotel room on Route 93, next to the White Oaks, who fluffed his child's hair that night when he prayed to the electric wires in the sky. That guy who woke up next to a small lump of a sun. That boy who felt the vibration and smelled the metallic smoke of his father's words, but could not comprehend his own breath soaring high above him. Space is a long, long time. I think it was while they were still living on Lansdowne, just up the street from the skating rink. The sidewalk purpled under an awning of mulberry trees. It must have been summer. I could hear Connie chanting, "You walk and you walk and you walk and you stop," from the dappled shade of the Kentucky coffee trees. She was about 6, her father John and I on the stoop, a funny little fan club, Frank Zappa in the background singing, "But space is a long, long time." And I believed her, believed that you could just stop, but you can't. There are teeth and lips and blades of grass and hate and sausages bubble popping in the fry pan, and Werner Herzog walking in ice for 21 days, and Patsy Cline long, long past the midnight of this poem. Sea swirl and the resistance of garbage bins against meaty hands. Johnny Cash is a bullet made of books and soft brass over Old Hickory Lane, an ear pressed to the alphabet where happiness lives. An ear pressed to the asphalt where happiness lives. A small puddle where you see the reflection of your birth, a hole full of beating hearts, here where you left me, orphan gray, bowed under the ash and bone of you, as I walk and I walk and I walk. Radio theory. When you're a kid, you have theories, but you don't know what a theory is. Maybe it's just an idea that you didn't speak. Maybe it's hundreds of tiny stars you see in the short night of your own eyes, shut tight against the world, which you later learn are really winged messengers, blood of your blood, fields of golden poppies, underworld emporiums, a seaside promenade, gilded celestial drifters. And what if the Oxford English Dictionary and all the humble books are just rivers or streams of consciousness, and my people, mongrel cells, theories of evolution, jitterbugging through the liquid dance halls of my being? What if bliss blue glory promise is a transistor radio, and they're all there, the ones you love best, oscillating through the ether milk, divine ink spots as transmitters, song as animal, as touch, as opium tea garden, where night stretches her velvet torso over the living. What if this poem, this stubby morning, this keloid, this frequency, this entire life as a stray bullet, as a Rorschach? I think I wrote this one about after Scott's serial slash penis poem. Is it the serial poem? Anyway, this one's called Chester Albert. Every great memory starts with cereal and cartoons. The refrigerator, fridge, icebox, chiller. Bugs Bunny, Fred and Wilma, Dino, Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops, sometimes for lunch. This morning, sorry. This morning, my head is a passenger along the ride. I'm told there are 100 billion nerves, trillions of synapses, or maybe I already knew that. Maybe I was married to a library for 39 years. The rain around here smells like piss. Some guy on the radio says he wants to grow a jazz spot. Middle name was Fear. I hear it in Ugly Beauty, Epistrophe, in Ruby, my dear. The forecast says it's going to hit 30 degrees. I pray to Anders Celsius, Swedish astronomer. I pray that the sidewalk doesn't melt. I have a stamp with his face on it, issued in 1982. I have a scar that looks like Fahrenheit. The milk is as cold as a bone I once found in the snow. This day is already failing me. I call my refrigerator Chester, but mostly Albert. In the century before the 19th century, people collected ice in the winter, salted it, and wrapped it in flannel. My flannel shirt is in my backyard, my confessional, and my witness. Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard patented the Einstein refrigerator. I have patented nothing. I have eyelashes, tiny tuning forks, bat, vibrate, until Chester Albert stops crooning. I have to make my way out of this lapse in judgment, this poem that tastes a bit too blunt, that bruises my brain, that might be wearing a skirt made of the entrails of every ghost I ever rebuffed. Phyllis. A girl named Phyllis writes to Albert Einstein asking if scientists pray. It is 1936. Albert responds, God is the shadow we are signed, the skin of the soul, waxing and waning, but sometimes nothing more than the absence of light. I imagine Phyllis moving through the sacred geometry of shade, propelled by invisible forces, knee-skinned by the physicist's words. I imagine her as an ornithologist touching a wing, a beak, or a feather to her lips, the orderly harmony of what exists. The emotion of water, life listening in the back pew of the cosmic church, rain falling, hydrogen piggybacked by two atoms flanked by a tasteless gas, water as memory, as solid liquid, changing, the molecular structure of what she believes and does not believe. I imagine another kind of water, where wild rice and cranberries once grew, where she kneels to drink, to bend, to rein in and debone the dark, peculiar animal cradled between the 7 times 10 to the 27th atoms someone christened Phyllis. Phyllis as a blackbird with a broken throat, Howlin' Wolf or the chimney tops in Frank O'Hara's Heaven on Earth building. I asked for water, she brought me gasoline. I imagine Phyllis lying with her shadow, waxing and waning. I imagine water as an open door. And the last one I'll read is called The Arsonist. The sign says pepper spray sold here. There's a motorcycle parked out front, and next door is a fish and chips shop with a laundromat in the back that's open 24 hours. This is where my brother lives with 2 Daves, one of whom they call Big Shane, where he lays down his heart to watch the world flirting with copper-haired boys. It took us 4 tries, squinting through sun, chewing on lips and fingers to find his new place, his 13th home since she left. An onyx rhinoceros figurine and our uncle's smashed Gruen watch, the only constants in his life. The uncle who was married to one of my father's 5 sisters, who we saw once in a photograph standing next to an enormous palm tree and once in the flesh. The uncle and my father and the sisters and all the other uncles who are now gone, who I imagine as a small nebula, maybe an oyster, with my mother at its center, orange and pulsating. Triskaidekaphobia, fear of the number between 12 and 14. My brother is a fallen man, a man made of the invisible fog of lost sweethearts and the slivers of silence between the light and the thunder. Don't be afraid, I tell him. 13 is a happy number, a Fibonacci number, a twin prime with 11, a cousin prime with 17. It is the atomic number of aluminum, but he believes in other things. A year with 13 full moons instead of 12, a devil's dozen, the miscalculation of weeks and years, stepping over cracks, the trickster god Loki at your table, arrow dipped in mistletoe. Later, when we're gone, I know he'll take down the house number sign and burn it in the back of the garage. A small victory in a house he'll soon leave behind like a broken doll. The smell of boiled milk. Take off your shoes, he says, dropping coins on the living room floor. There is a new broom in the hallway made of saplings and salt in every corner, framed pictures strewn across the dining room table. I know I'm just a strange weed tangled in the wild foliage of my brother's secrets. Never pound a nail after sundown, or you will wake the tree gods, he says. I kiss his wrists. I know these wrists. It's been a long time since I stopped believing there's something behind the wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are really good. Whenever you were reading, it made me picture like a scene in my head. Those are really good. I love poems that that I paint a picture in my head whenever I hear the poet speak. Rarely does a poet make me think of a clear picture when they read. Those were wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so our last feature for tonight will be, Lauren, do you prefer Sharhag or Roberts? Because I see you use both.
Yeah, Sharhag is what I publish under.
Oh, okay. Then I'll use that. Our last feature poet for the night is Lauren Sharhag.
Thank you. Well, I guess I will start with, since Scott and Lillian both referenced my 7-piece poem, it's called All Color, and I'm not going to read all of it because it is like 6 pages long, and that's a little much. But I would like to read my favorite part from it, and it is from the 7 major chakra points in Kundalini meditation. And so I'm going to read you part 4, which is the heart. Chambers of the heart chakra are green, a forest in microcosm. Green, the color of tender sprouts and shoots, illness and putrescence. Even as we rise, we dig, tunneling ever deeper, ever inward. Beneath the green canopy, among the moss and the ferns, among the alum root and the wild ginger, here you can know peace. Let your serpent roam. The banks of rivers whose waters are the umber and sage of turtle shells, knee-deep in cattails and reeds, beside the still ponds dappled with algae and lily pads, sheer excess of verdure. Imagine hydrangeas swelling, insistent against my breastbone, petals the same translucent green of luna moths, every heartbeat like the fluttering of impossibly delicate wings. Apple green larvae fatten themselves on the leaves of hickory and persimmons. When they emerge from their cocoons, they have only a week, forgoing sustenance, forgoing even mouths and digestive organs. To mate is their only task, seeking each other out across the dark miles, witching hour tryst, entwined by the light of their namesake's heavenly body. Once joined, the imago waltz must be danced for at least 24 hours. To part is to perish. Green heart, keeper of love, but also grief. Cycle repeats itself twice, sometimes thrice a season. Lovers be lost, love is not. The heart, too, is compassion. Before the divorce, my father brought me a parakeet as a gift. But in captivity, lime green feathers, with wings, a too small cage. My father would take the bird out, holding it in his clenched fist so I could stroke its frantically darting head. I was too young to understand cruelty, understand that it was a little green life I had cooped up in a corner of my bedroom. Parakeets are supposed to be able to learn human speech. I wonder what my parakeet would have had to say. Every time we took it out, it would bite. I didn't know that such a creature needed more than seed, that it needed to taste fruit and fresh green things, that it needed stimulation and companionship. Parakeets mate for life, and having no mate, having nothing of its natural state, a parakeet cannot live long. This was my first experience with death. Is it an animal sacrifice if it's unintentional? This is the pain of awakening, eyes opening to past wrongs. Even now, I hesitate to handle such delicate things. I both hate and love that the wings of my heart are green, my winged heart a milagro, a miracle and a promise, an offering, something that can only be given, something I must set on the altar and walk away from. My winged heart, the only way to ascend. But I suppose if I can give up my heart, I can give up anything. Somewhere I hope my heart flies through open grasslands, that it never knows another moment of solitude or imprisonment. I hope my green-winged anahata knows the joy of wind in its feathers and raising its voice to the bright face of God. Then the next one I would like to read is called Skinwalker. It's not like in the werewolf movies where I wake up naked in the forest, not knowing how I got there or why I have the taste of blood in my mouth. It's not like the stories where curses make beasts of men. No, it's more akin to those Eurasian primordials of whose tree I am but another branch, where turning men into wolves was the right of hunters and warriors. No moon governs me, and I know exactly what I am and where I've been. It's in my very name. By means of it, it goes on all fours. Some say it started when the Spaniards came. If you don't know the story of those years, I probably don't have to tell you the story of those years, age of ruthlessness and conquerors. Sometimes I think it must be because for so long we were nomads, and you don't just shrug off 3 millennia of wandering, trekking across ice bridges and down the rugged coasts. Only the Creator knows for sure. They who conjured light from the east and earth from a single yellow grain. Sometimes I think I was born to this. I only unleashed what was already there. My nature mutable as the golden tortoise beetle, the snowshoe rabbit, or certain tree frogs. Nothing in my cosmology says I must forgive. There's only balance and imbalance. An imbalance must be corrected. The sort of trauma that washes down through the generations, like litter in the stream of our DNA, and it's not as if the atrocities ever stop. I am the endless night chant, waiting for the world to heal, tireless ceremonial dancer, the ultimate hand trembler, for surely we must remove the source of the malady. I take the darkness into myself, and when our enemies tell us we are less than they, I am ready to fling it back at them. I'm ready to don the forbidden animal skins, to sow terror and harvest a crop of bones. You could see why I would trade the pollen wave for blood, why I would call upon the powers of wing and fang and claw, why I would become pitiless as the hawk's unblinking gaze. I pray you never know the pain that drives someone to become this, that you never have to pay the price to become this, the agony of transformation. My fingers, once so skilled at weaving, hardening into talons, canines overtaking my omnivorous mouth, forsaking forever the taste of corn and beans, my feet into paws, then the aftermath of becoming, in which I am no one, neither living nor dead, perpetually half human, half creature, all monster, the stench of mass graves and privation. Once you start down this path, there can be no turning back. Yes, I can be dog, coyote, wolf, bear, cougar, owl, and crow. I would rather be the deadly bacteria destroying you from within, the brain-eating amoeba lurking in the water, the compulsion that seizes people to pet a wild thing that could maul or trample them. The medicine men try to pray us away. Those who know of us do not speak of us for fear we will hear. Admittedly, we are not hard to distract. There's always some new imbalance to chase down. Keep your bullets and ashes, and if you know the Skinwalker's human name, then speak it. They will be destroyed. If you know my human name, then speak it. I will take you with me. Unlike you, I don't fear the world's end. No more are waiting, if we could but rise to meet them. Let's see. Now I will read Night Terrors, which incidentally has the line where we get the book's title. Here, in the biblical sense of fearing God, pillow a door I try to keep shut. No, it's a lie. My door stands open. It's the only way to let myself out. Gates of horn and ivory, a straight shot. From there, a mere stone's throw to the Asphodel Meadows. Epiale is just one of the gods I dally with there. I let him enter my head. Here is arousal. Here is hyper-awareness. I lie with him all night, all pupils and throbbing glands, worshiping a world of ink-heavy mood, stained glass darkly indigo, stars of gold, moonstone humming lullabies in the blood. GABA attempts to swaddle my proteins, but I shrug off its blankets, dismiss the biochemical sandman. When I enter stage 1, my heart resists the slowdown, cauldron of cortisol and adrenaline, conjuring the speeding horse, my bareback heart, a trance that sends me skidding awake to see him standing at the bedside, or sometimes upside down on the ceiling, staring up at me. And I start up, crashing, screaming, babbling in tongues like a Pentecostal, midnight glossolalia, congregation of one, awaken my earthly bedmate. I move to the couch, but they find me there too. Night blooming censers of jasmine swing. I was baptized in violence, confirmed in sacrifice, upside down and dunked in the darkest waters. Only instead of making me impervious, I am too penetrable. I take everything in, absorb it all. It rings out of me. I drip. He has me prostrate amid the moonflowers and tuberoses, the evening rain lilies, exhausted, sore, dusk smeared beneath my eyes, unaware that there's anything besides this. Angels descend on ghost owl wings. At dawn, I will pluck their feathers from the tangles of my head. And then kind of a companion piece to that one is Nightshades. We sleep in separate bedrooms now, not because our marriage is in trouble, mainly because he snores loud enough that I expect the roof to rise and fall like something out of an old cartoon. High, whiny vibrato, a cheap Kawasaki. Sleep styles are fundamentally incompatible. I sleep hot and he sleeps cold. I toss and turn and he is immobile. I am a night owl and he falls asleep before 9. In the post-meridian hours, a post-menopausal body flirts with going nova, like the dying star that it is. I wake up soaked in sweat. I have to sleep with a pillow between my knees to keep spine and pelvis aligned. And I have to have white noise and a sleep mask and a fan. And I wake up at odd hours to jot down scraps of poems. And I talk in my sleep and I walk in my sleep. And nightmares and night terrors can start me up screaming at any time. And I have long bouts of insomnia, and no bedroom should be this dysfunctional. I can't tell if I am beloved of Nice or reviled by her. Every night the opposite of repose, every dawn an aftermath. I'm getting used to it now, sleeping alone. I don't like it. People talk about their partners being away and how they enjoy having their bed to themselves, lying with their limbs outstretched in the skydiving position. I never do that. I stick to my half, left side, curled up, trying to make myself as small as possible, a smaller target for the nightshades. I think of how my grandparents shared a bed for 65 years, lying side by side, their snoring synchronized, and how when Grandpa died first, Grandma too kept to her side, and how his pillow retained the indent of his head. Sometime, sooner than we'd like, sleeping alone will not be a choice, the permanent state of affairs. I don't know which I hate more, the idea of him sleeping alone or me, the idea that he will be haunted by lonely nights or I will. This can only end one way, with one of us bedding down with a ghost. How am I doing on time?
You still have 5 minutes.
5 minutes,
Or no,
okay.
4. Yeah, just change the 4. Sorry.
All right, 4.
Uh,
Well, then I've got a shorty here that I could do called Ghosts of the Great Plains. My husband keeps a die-cast tractor on a shelf above his desk, vestige of his FFA days, much like his fondness for Carhartts and trucks, cinnamon rolls and chicken fried steak. His family moved 19 times before he was 17. The best and the worst place they lived was an old farmhouse they rented in a small town in Miami County, population 200. It was the best place because it sat on a full acre of land in which his older brothers planted a 4-H garden. Food was not always a guarantee for them, but there they ate well. Vegetables the boys could pull right from the Kansas silt loam and eat raw. Sunflowers whose seeds they harvested, dried, and roasted with salt. That farmhouse was also the worst because it was home to many ghosts. They were plagued with all the problems you'd expect in a haunted house. Lights and appliances flickering on and off, cold spots, footsteps, apparitions, the feeling of an icy hand on your shoulder. If they'd been watching these events unfold on a movie screen, it would have seemed cliche. But when it's happening in your living room, suddenly all these plot elements hit differently. Then the lease was up and it was on to the next address. As I think of it, that miniature John Deere, green, and wheat field yellow is the sole artifact he kept from those years. Even now, he can eat a potato the way most folks eat an apple, and he barely has to set foot in a place to determine whether or not it's haunted. Our present stained in the colors of our childhood, the perpetual love-hate relationship with the past. And in the soil of a garden long since gone to bindweed and thistle, their spade once turned up bones they quickly reburied. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were great poems. Thank you so much. Everyone, please unmute your mics and give it up for free features tonight. They were amazing.
Oh,
Really great. Really great.
yay.
Beautiful reading. Thank you.
Caps lock was by accident, but then I decided to leave it. 'Cause it's
Yes.
rare. That was genius.
All three of you, wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
we're so honored.
Yeah, thank you all for gracing us with those amazing poems. Those were awesome pieces, and it seemed, at least to me, it seemed like they were different, but they were also interlinked, like the same style almost, and it was very neat to see the different dynamics and similarities. Okay, so we will move on to open mic. We have a short list tonight. We have 5 people. If your name isn't on the list yet, you can always message me in the chat and I'll add you to the list. So I will say who was on deck and who's up now. So on deck is Savannah, but up to the mic now is Nemo.
Thank you. I have a micro triptych, which is 3 thematically connected micro poems. I observed 2 flights, one red, one black. As we raced down countless miles, 2 cardinals crossed the highway, just in front of the car, just in front of us. Were these rivals chasing one another, or brothers or lovers intertwined, swooping low and showing off just a little? My mind saw the fell geometry, and then everything was on rails, and life was reduced to distance and speed. For just a moment, the first bird was lost in the massive black of the car in front of us. I felt relief in watching it explode in a massive, brilliant red, knowing that's what's supposed to happen when nature meets steel at the end of its trajectory. But I wondered as we sped away what the second bird was feeling right now. Running on a nature trail the following day, I observed 2 butterflies, black, darting together in a circle in front of me, fighting or courting against the blue of the afternoon. For the better part of a minute, our paths lined up, and I prepared to witness a tiny but violent explosion of black against my bright red shirt. But our lines did not meet, and they danced on unaware as I sped away and wondered what it felt like to be crushed mid-flight. The greatest poet to ever live couldn't tolerate being around other people, so she never shared her work with the rest of us. The second best poet scribbled in a beloved book that burned with him in a fire while he slept. The third best poet only ever came up with one thing, while a lion held him by the neck, and they both waited for him to die. The sky isn't quite so red these days here in the Demon City. It's still always third shift, but it ends 5 minutes earlier on Thursdays and odd-numbered months. Thank you.
Thank you, Nemo. Those were great pieces. Okay, so on deck would be Ethan Mackler. Up to the mic now is Savvy. And I do apologize for saying the wrong name.
That's okay. So I'm gonna do 2 shorter poems, one shorter than the other. The first is called If You Knew Me. If you knew me, you would know that I had a feeding tube till I was a year old. You would know that I grunted instead of talked to get what I needed as a young child. You would know I was diagnosed at 4, schizophrenia, Tourette syndrome, ADHD, autism, epilepsy, swirling with things that explain me, weird, schizo, autistic. It's okay. You're high functioning. You would know I was labeled freak. You would know I had to have help in school to even read. You would know I had extreme sensory difficulties and still do. You would know that every sound rushed by like a freight train. You would know I was told I would never graduate. You would know I would lash out to get attention. You would know I twirled my hair, rocked back and forth in a corner, caught bees in my house that were not there, saw shadows on my walls. You would know my emotions run high. You would know that when I was in school, my peers labeled me special education, wrong, weird, stupid, instead of special, unique, gifted. You would know I spent hundreds of hours a year in therapy to get where I am. You would know I spent hundreds of hours being bullied because of my diagnosis, pushed to the ground like daggers in my heart, hated, mutilated. You would know I was institutionalized by the time I was in 3rd grade. But if you really knew me, you would know I graduated grade school. You would know I graduated high school. You would know I went to community college. You would know I want to become a teacher and help others reach their potential. No, will become a teacher. You would know that I'm a proud CSU Ram. You would know that I'm geek for sci-fi. You'd know that I have hope and who I am and who I am still becoming. You would know I make my mother proud. You would know I plan to help others who struggle with invisible disabilities. You would know my emotions still run high, but you would also know that I am a poet. You would know that I've had a relationship. You know that I love my family, my friends. You know that I'm savvy, and no matter what having a disability means or doesn't mean, I'm being the best me I can be. If you knew me, you'd know I'm a strong, uniquely abled woman. But now I guess you know me. And then, so that's my little bit of longer poem. And then I have my second poem. Mind you, with my autism, I also have IDD. IDD is an intellectual developmental delay. So there are language that are offensive, and I don't say the language, but this poem does have to do with that. So it is called the R word. RETARDVV. No, you figure it out. A word that hurts and stings me to my very core. You say it without thinking. It just spills out of your mouth. I wonder if you knew the history behind it, if you would say it or think it again. R is for reluctance, reluctantly shutting doors, tied to beds, not knowing what you have done wrong, broken and sad. E is for education. Educate what you can, leave the rest behind. T is for torture. Told by the ones you love, you are broken, but you can't be fixed. A is for anger, rolling like a steam engine, keeping the future at arm's length. R is for a word rolled up in hate, strung up for you to laugh at. D is for distant, dysfunction, disheartened, danger. We have to change the word to end the word. R, respect. E, endurance. T, tolerance. A, acceptance. R, responsibility. And D is for decency. Find decency, respect the ones you love, accept and expect to respect, endure life, give tolerance.
Thank you. Those were amazing poems. I also grew up with autism, and those poems really spoke to me because so many troops that I've gone through in life. It's, I could go on and on. But thank you. Those were great pieces. Okay, so on deck would be Shaki G, but up to the mic now is Ethan Mackler.
Thank you.
Awesome. Another awesome musical piece by Ethan Mackler. Thank you, Ethan.
I enjoyed that so much. Thank you.
Okay, so on deck is Robert F, but up to the mic now is Shockey G. And thank you so much, Shockey, for helping me out tonight.
You're welcome. Beautiful as always, Ethan. I hate following you, but so therapeutic. I love it. All right. I have one piece to do. It's called Black Magic. They tell me us Black girls are supposed to know magic. Lately, I've been trying to find out how to make myself disappear without anyone noticing. I stood in the mirror screaming, abracadabra, 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 but I'm still here. Maybe it's because I haven't mastered my mother tongue, so it doesn't sound like the right incantation. You would think someone with this much melanin could just blend into the darkness around them, but somehow I still find a way to shine. They asked me to show them a trick. Watch how I pretend I'm fine, how I can make a frown turn upside down before your eyes. But my biggest trick is trying to saw this woman in half, and I haven't mastered that yet. But I can swallow swords and breathe fire at least once if you ignore the blood. They keep marveling at my strong, but damn it, I feel weak. Every day, I feel like I'm fading out. Abracadabra, I am crumbling into nothing. Abracadabra, and no matter how much I cry for help, no one seems to hear me. Abracadabra. Is it still a magic trick if you disappear and no one notices? Oh.
Wow, that was great, Shockey, especially um the ending where you said if you disappear and no one notices. That was a great line.
Thank you.
Yeah, great poem, great read, Chuck.
Okay, so our last poet for the evening will be Robert F. I see you have a new name for yourself, Doodle Guy. Nice.
Good evening. Yes, I've been featuring my graphic artist abilities in my name. Good evening. I'm Robert Fleming, a writer and a graphic artist from Delaware. Would I be able to share the screen, Christopher?
Shockey, could you see if the share screen is enabled? I don't know if I can from the app.
Shouldn't be able to do it.
Okay. See if you can do it,
Thank
Robert.
you. Thank you. So I was very, very excited today. I've written a chapbook called Conway, and it's going to be published with 3 other chapbooks in a book by Four Feathers Press called 4 in 1. This is what the cover of the book is going to look like. And I will share 2 pieces on graphics from my piece. The title of my piece is called Conway. It's about cons. The first image is called Stork Delivery, and the accompanying poem, The Stork Still Brings Suckers. A newborn baby's mouth sucks. Barnum takes coin from oohs and ahs. The sideshow started with PT covered in leeches, blood oozing out of epidermis, rolling down chest to loin. Band-aided, I can leech better than leeches, screaming to the center ring top hat. People I envy most want to be sucked. Outside the big top building stages, for a snake and three heads and a bearded lady and an office for PT. A sucker must have someone to suck. And let me share the last piece in the last graphic image of my section. Men moon positive phototaxis. Men covered their skin in animal hides. Ice covered the land. Streets covered the land. Roofs covered men. Men are covered under lamplight. Men are corralled in cities, hitched to a desk on the trail of money. Break the roofs. Put men back under the stars. Men will trail the moon. And this is the last image and last part of my section called the sucker game. One of the software packages I use is called Canva for doing graphic manipulation. And the biggest challenge for this piece was for making the three shells appear to have depth and perspective on the table. And thank you for letting me share my upcoming chapbook Conway, which will be available in May in 2023. Greetings from Delaware.
Thank you so much for that, Robert. And yes, we'll definitely check that out. Okay, so that would be the list. Thank you all for coming to More Poetry tonight, and thank you for the amazing features that I had. All your poems were amazing and great. And I'd like to thank you for coming on to be a feature. And yeah, it's just wonderful. I don't know what other word to say.
Yes, and please put, how people can follow you or purchase your work, that book that you guys were showing earlier, so that people can kind of keep in touch with you guys, and Meat for Tea Press. If you guys want to put your website or anything in the chat, in case anyone's interested in your information, that'd be great as well.
Yes, thank you, Shaggy. Yes, please do share your information in the chat, and that would be great.
When's your next show, Chris?
Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to get stuff organized here. So for the next one, that would be March 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I have to bring up my calendar as far as who I have. I believe I have, it's one of two poets. I forget which ones that I have. It's either UCP, Urban Cowboy Poet, or J Starlet Writer. I know I have them for both the 8th and 22nd. I just forget which day. I have to double check
UCP is on the 8th because he wasn't available on the 22nd.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know my schedule better than I do, Shocky. Yeah, all because my computer went whack last week. I can't access a lot of my files, which isn't good.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, thank you. See if I can. Yeah, I don't know how to end.
No, I can
Um,
end it all.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I,
thank you,
I wasn't
Shaki.
sure if you had anything else to say. If you guys
No.
want, like he said, his next show's on the 8th. We do have something every Wednesday. When he is not um, having his mic, there's also Nick Paleo logos the opposite Wednesday. So feel free to come back to The Word is Right and check out some shows and share some more poetry. We love hearing you. So we would love that. Aside from that, I hope everyone has a great week and thanks for showing up.
Thank you so much. Great to be
Thank you.
here.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Shaki.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.
Hi, everybody.